Have you ever felt like life keeps hitting you faster than you can recover? Like every time you fix one thing, three more fall apart? You pray, you plan, you try, but somehow peace keeps slipping through your fingers. Maybe it's not that you're doing something wrong. Maybe it's that you've been fighting battles God never asked you to fight alone. This message isn't about theory, it's about survival. Because spiritual warfare doesn't wait for Sunday morning. It shows up in your home, your marriage, your mind. And most people lose not because they're weak, but because they're distracted. You can't win a war you don't recognize. The question isn't whether the enemy's attacking. It's whether your eyes are still fixed on Jesus when he does. So before you move on, stop for a second and ask yourself, what if the chaos around you is actually calling you back to focus? In this message, you'll discover how to fight smarter, pray deeper, and stand stronger, even when you feel surrounded. Tell me in the comments, which battle are you facing right now that feels bigger than you? Let's face it together. When Jehoshaphat stood surrounded by multitudes, he didn't fake strength, he fixed his eyes on Jesus. We do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you, 2 Chronicles 20:12. That line is not weakness, it's wisdom, because focus isn't about ignoring the chaos, it's about choosing who deserves your attention when the world is spinning out of control. In a storm, the safest place to look isn't at the waves, it's at the one who walks on them. Most people panic when they feel powerless, but that's where faith begins. When your plans fall apart and you've got no backup plan left, you finally discover what trust really means. Fixing your eyes on Jesus means acknowledging his sovereignty even when you can't see his strategy. You may not have control, but you're not out of options. You still have access to the one who does. The truth is, focus is a fight. Every notification, every headline, every what if is spiritual warfare for your attention. And the enemy knows if he can distract your eyes, he can drain your faith. So every morning, before the noise of the day begins, whisper this: Jesus, my eyes are on you. It's not just a prayer, it's a declaration of war against chaos itself. And soon, you'll see why that focus matters. Sometimes life doesn't attack you one problem at a time, it sends three armies at once. That's what happened to Jehoshaphat. He wasn't just surrounded, he was outnumbered. Maybe you felt the same. Your finances collapsing while your health breaks and your peace disappears. When the multitudes rise, your strength won't be enough. That's when prayer stops being a ritual and becomes your only plan left standing.
Feeling overwhelmed doesn't mean you lack faith. It means you're human. God never asked you to carry the battle alone. He just asked you to show up and trust his strategy. When you feel powerless and planless, that's not the end. It's the invitation. You're not surrounded to be destroyed. You're surrounded to witness how God fights for you. In spiritual warfare, the loudest battle often happens in silence. It's when your mind starts whispering lies like you're losing, you're late, you're not enough. But Jehoshaphat didn't let the noise decide his future. He chose stillness over panic. When the multitudes gather around your life, remember, you're not the one surrounded, they are. God's presence forms a greater circle around every enemy plan. The truth is, the enemy doesn't need new tricks. He just keeps recycling the old ones that still work. He studies your patterns, your weak points, your familiar struggles, and hits repeat. That's why some battles feel déjà vu. It's not coincidence, it's strategy. He knows what made you fall last time, and he'll test if you learned since then. Discernment means recognizing a repeated scheme before it turns into another downfall. Most people think every new problem is brand new. It's not. The enemy just changed the wrapping, not the weapon. He disguises old temptations in new forms, different faces, same traps. But when you start seeing the pattern, you break the power. Spiritual awareness is like turning on the lights in a dark room. Suddenly you realize the monster was just your shadow all along. God never intended for you to live reacting. He called you to live ready. That's what spiritual maturity looks like. Preparation, not panic. When you begin your day with prayer, truth, and worship, You're not being religious, you're being strategic. Because once you learn the enemy's playbook, you stop being the target and start becoming the threat. Most believers fight battles only after they explode, but spiritual maturity means learning to strike before the storm hits. Think of a mother who treats her child's asthma before the crisis. She's not reacting, she's preventing. That's what proactive parenting looks like. And the same principle applies in spiritual warfare. You don't wait for the attack. You build readiness in advance. Prayer, discernment, and alertness aren't panic buttons. They're preparation tools. God doesn't want his children living on defense all the time. He gave you spiritual authority, not just for survival, but for strategy. When you stay sensitive to the Holy Spirit, you begin to sense the tension before it manifests, like a soldier who feels the air change before the battle begins. That's not paranoia. It's prophetic awareness. The goal isn't fear, it's foresight.
The best victories are the ones no one sees, because the war never reached your doorstep. Prevention is proof of maturity. When you pray over your home before the conflict, when you worship before the worry, you're already winning. Every act of preparation becomes an act of faith, and every act of faith becomes a shield that keeps the enemy guessing what you'll do next. Faith isn't the absence of doubt, it's knowing where to take it. Jehoshaphat didn't pretend to have all the answers. He asked God what to do. There's a big difference between questioning God and asking God. One comes from rebellion, the other from relationship. When you bring your confusion to him in honesty, you're not showing weakness, you're showing trust in his character. Even Jesus cried out, "Why have you forsaken me?" And the heavens didn't reject him. Too many people think faith means silence, but real faith talks, it wrestles, it prays through the pain instead of hiding from it. When your heart feels heavy, don't fake peace. Bring the weight to God's presence. He's not afraid of your questions, he's afraid of your distance. Every honest prayer pulls you closer to the truth, even when it starts with tears. God doesn't just answer questions, he transforms the one who's asking. When you dare to ask why, how, or when, heaven often responds with wait and see. That's not avoidance, that's divine timing. Because sometimes the answer isn't a sentence, it's a season. And the ones who stay in conversation with God never walk away empty. Some seasons feel like grief never clocks out. Just when you start breathing again, another loss hits, another goodbye, another failure, another silence from heaven. Jehoshaphat's story reminds us that faith isn't proven on the mountain, it's refined in the valley. When pain multiplies, your power doesn't disappear, it just hides under the emotional weight. And that's where vulnerability becomes strength. Because pretending you're fine is exhausting, but being honest is liberating. Personal suffering doesn't mean God abandoned you, it means he's rebuilding you. Sometimes he allows what you love to shake so he can reveal what can't be shaken. The losses you tout as curses often become the very soil where your faith grows roots. Every tear is a seed, and every seed will see light again. That's the strange math of grace. It multiplies what pain tried to subtract. You don't have to wear a mask in front of a God who wore a cross. He understands grief, loss, and loneliness better than anyone. So when you feel like you've got nothing left, remember, he never asked for your strength, only your surrender. Healing doesn't start when the pain ends, it starts when you stop running from it. And soon, you'll see that even your brokenness can still bear fruit.
Imagine a kid in The Incredibles who doesn't realize he's got superpowers. He panics when danger shows up, not knowing he could stop it with a whisper. That's how many believers live. They forget they're children of God with access to spiritual power through the Holy Spirit. Heaven isn't waiting to hand out new authority. It's waiting for you to use the one you already have. You're not powerless, you're just unpracticed. Being a child of God doesn't mean being fragile. It means being backed by divine authority. You have permission to speak peace into chaos, to declare truth over anxiety, to stand firm when fear shouts loud. Power isn't about noise. It's about knowing who you are and whose you are. When you realize that, storms stop looking like threats and start looking like opportunities for testimony. The Holy Spirit isn't just a comforter. He's a coach. He trains you to recognize spiritual power not as a feeling, but as a fact. So stop waiting for a sign to believe you're strong enough. If you're breathing, you're qualified. If you're still here, you're chosen. And when you finally decide to use your power, hell remembers your name and heaven celebrates your courage. Maybe life hasn't been easy lately. Maybe you've been surrounded, stretched, or silenced. But here's the truth. You were never powerless. You just forgot where your power comes from. Fix your eyes back on Jesus, and everything the enemy meant for harm will become the training ground for your next breakthrough. You don't need a new plan. You need renewed focus. God hasn't forgotten you. He's been preparing you. Every delay, every tear, every unanswered prayer is part of a strategy designed to make you unshakable. This isn't the end of your story. It's the chapter where your faith finally takes shape. So stand up, wipe the dust off, and use the authority you've had all along. If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Comment below what part hit you the hardest, and let others know that victory starts when focus returns. Subscribe, like, and turn on notifications because your next breakthrough might be one message away.